So today we are going to discuss about the diffraction intensity and the diffraction of X-rays by crystals, and considering the kinetic theory of scattering, the atomic scattering factor, geometric scattering factor, etc. And subsequently, if time permits, I will discuss the Brillouin zone and some problems regarding the diffraction of waves and particles by crystals. So, as we all know, the different directions of the diffracted beam obtained according to Bragg's law or Laue equations are governed entirely by the geometry and the size of the unit cell, right? And therefore, these directions are not affected by the arrangement of atoms associated with each lattice point. However, the complexity of the atomic structure within the unit cell does not affect the intensity of the diffracted beams. The intensity of the diffracted beams primarily depend on the atomic scattering factor and the position of each atom in the unit cell. Since the electrons are the only components of the atom that scatter X-rays significantly, the X-rays scattered from one part of an atom interfere with those scattered from the other part at all angles of scattering, that is at 2 theta is equals to 0 degree. All atoms scatter in phases. Since the electrons are distributed throughout the atomic volume, the diffracted beams are obtained as a result of combination of the scattered waves from the electrons of all atoms in the unit cell. So this process involves two distinct contributions. The first one is the scattering from electrons in the same atom, or the atomic scattering factor or atomic form factor, that is small f. And the second one is the summation of these scattering form all atoms in the unit cell, that is the geometric structure factor. Usually we denote is by the factor capital F. So the atomic scattering factor is a measure of the efficiency of an atom in scattering X-rays. It is defined as the ratio of the amplitude scattered by the actual electron distribution in an atom to that scattered by one electron localized at a point. Therefore, if the atoms are assumed to be points only, then the atomic scattering factor is just equal to the number of electrons present, that is the atomic number of neutral atoms, Z. The atomic scattering factor of an atom falls off with increasing scattering angle, or more precisely with increasing value of sine theta by lambda. On the other hand, neutrons are scattered by atomic nuclei rather than by electrons around a nucleus. Since the nucleus is very small as compared to the size of the atom, it can be treated as a point atom. The scattering for a non-vibrating nucleus is almost independent of scattering angle. In order to know the intensity of the X-ray beam scattered by one unit in a particular direction where there is diffraction maximum, it is necessary to sum the waves that arise from all the atoms in the unit cell. Mathematically, this involves adding the waves of the same wavelength but with different amplitudes and phases. The intensity of the scattered beam is then obtained by squaring the resultant amplitude. Uh, the intensity of a given diffracted wave depends on a number of factors. One of these is the atomic scattering factor, which describes the result of interference effects within the scattering atoms arising from the finite extent of the atoms in relation to the wavelength. And we can give a classical calculation of the coherent atomic scattering factor. So, a little bit about the kinetic theory of scattering. As you can see in the figure, that the difference in path length of the incident wave k at the point O in this point r is r sine phi, and the difference in phase is 2 pi r sine phi divided by lambda, which is equal to k dot r. For the diffracted wave, the difference in phase is k prime dot r, and total difference in phase is k minus k prime dot r, and the wave scattered from dv at r has the phase factor exponential I k minus k prime dot r relative to the wave scattered from a volume element at the origin O. So this is the incident wave and this is the diffracted wave or the scattered wave. The Bragg law only provides a condition for diffraction to occur. We need a deeper analysis to determine the scattering intensity from the basis of atoms. Consider an incoming X-ray with wave vector k. We want to calculate the scattering intensity. This is the incident beam. This is the outgoing beam. And we want to calculate the scattering intensity in the direction along K prime due to the crystal. So your crystal sits here. First, we notice that waves scattered from different points of the specimen emerge with different path lengths from the wave scattered from the origin. For the wave scattered from a point at R, this is the R, this is origin. The path length difference between the this emergent wave and that from the origin is lambda by 2 pi. This one, this is lambda by 2 pi k minus k prime dot r. This leads to the extra phase factor of e to the power I k minus k prime dot r in the wave scattered from the point r compared to that scattered from the origin. Since the amplitude of the wave scattered from a volume element is proportional to the local electron concentration small nr, this is the concentration, the total amplitude of the scattered wave in the direction of k prime, right? Scattered wave in the direction of k prime is proportional to the integral over the crystal of nr dv times the phase factor e to the power minus e to the power I k minus k prime dot r. In other words, the amplitude of the electric or magnetic field vectors in the scattered electromagnetic wave is proportional to the following integral, which defines the scattering amplitude f, which is nothing but integration over dv nr, which is the local electron concentration, times e to the power I k minus k prime dot r, which is integration over dv nr exponential minus I delta k dot r, where delta k is nothing but k prime minus k, the vector uh, k prime minus the vector k, or the outgoing beam and for the incident beam. So to evaluate the integral in this equation, we will exploit the fact that NR is periodic, that is invariant under translation along any lattice vectors, which must be a linear combination of the Bravais primitive vectors A, B, and C. So NR is nothing but, under this condition, the Fourier expansion of NR can be written as is equals to summation upon G ng exponential I G dot R, where G must be such that N R plus MA plus NB plus PC is equals to NR, for integers m and p. Here Ng is given by the Fourier transformation of the local electron density Nr by Ng is equals to 1 upon V integration dV Nr exponential minus I g dot r. So this equation can be shown to be consistent with the earlier equation, that is Nr is equals to this equation. Uh, and we will now show that G must be a reciprocal lattice vector, that is G is equals to JA plus KB plus LC, where J, K, L are integers and capital A, capital B and capital C are defined as the reciprocal lattice vector as discussed in the earlier classes. So if we substitute this equation, nr plus ma plus nb plus pc is equals to nr, in the equation g is equals to ja plus kb plus lc, then we have nr is equals to summation upon g ng exponential I g dot r, that is ng exponential I g dot r exponential ig dot ma plus nb plus pc, which is nr plus ma plus nb plus pc. So this equation finally is valid only if g dot ma plus nb plus pc is equals to some twice m times pi, where m is an integer. Let's write G as a linear combination of the reciprocal lattice vector capital A, B and C as in equation this, but putting no restriction on JKL. If we find in the end that JKL have to be integers, G must then be a reciprocal lattice vector. If we substitute this equation G is equals to JA plus KB plus LC in the earlier equations this, then and use the following relations which are straightforward to verify that a dot a, b dot b, c dot c is equals to 2 pi, and the dot products of the other components a dot b, a dot c, b dot a, b dot c, c dot a, c dot b is equals to 0, then we have jm plus kn plus lp is equals to capital M. Now since M, N, P and capital M are integers, from this equation can be valid in general only if J, K and L are also integers. This proves that G must be a reciprocal lattice vector, and we now go back to the evaluation of the integral that we started with, and we have f is equals to summation upon g integration dv ng exponential I g minus delta k dot r, that is v ng times delta function of g minus delta k. But the factor delta g minus delta k provides an explanation of the Bragg diffraction law, namely delta g k is equals to g, but more informative than the Bragg diffraction law. These equation even tell us what the scattering amplitudes be for the various Bragg diffraction peak. In particular, for the diffraction peak corresponding to delta k is equals to g, the scattering amplitude is just proportional to the g component, that is the ng, in the Fourier expansion of the sample electronic distribution. Before we continue with the calculation of f, we will divert our discussion to the important concept of the Bragg diffraction of electrons at a Brillouin zone boundary. So this is the discussion about the Brillouin zone. This is an important statement here. Brillouin zone is defined as a Wigner-Cis primitive cell in the reciprocal lattice. Brillouin zone is defined as a Wigner-Cis primitive cell in the reciprocal lattice. As explained before, a Wigner-Cis cell about a lattice point is constructed by drawing lines connecting the lattice points to all nearby points in the lattice, bisecting each line with a plane and taking the smallest polyhedron containing the point bounded by these planes. With this construction, half G, okay, half G must be perpendicular to and terminates at a boundary of the zone as shown in this figure. This is half G, this is also half G. These are the zone boundaries, the white lines. We will show that any wave that has wave vector k drawn from the origin O and terminates at a zone boundary always satisfies the Bragg diffraction condition, hence will be Bragg diffracted. So from figure, it is obvious that k dot half g is equals to half g whole thing square. So according to the previous equation, the Bragg law is equivalent to 2k sine theta is equals to g. That is 2k dot, the g vector divided by magnitude of g is equals to g. So this is g square multiplied. So twice k dot g is equals to g square. And finally it turns out k dot half g vector is equals to half g whole square, which is the same equation as in the earlier equations of uh, this one, half k dot half g is equals to half g square. This proves our proposition. Since this conclusion is general to all kinds of waves, it is valid in particular to electron waves traversing in the crystal. This result says that this is another very important statement regarding the structure factor or Brillouin zone, that the electrons with wave vector k reaching a Brillouin zone boundary will suffer strong Bragg diffraction by the crystal planes. I repeat, electrons with wave vector k reaching a zone boundary will suffer strong Bragg diffraction by the crystal planes. So this is the concept of structure factor and corresponding form factor. Let us now come back to the evaluation of the scattering amplitude f from the earlier equation. That is f is equals to v times ng delta g minus delta k, which is integration over dv nr exponential minus I delta k dot r. If capital N is the total number of unit cells in the solid, and because the crystal is periodic, this F is equals to N times integration over unit cell dV times Nr exponential minus I delta k dot R, which is N times capital S suffix G, where Sg is the structure factor, is called the structure factor. Uh, Note that it is an integral over a unit cell with r equals to 0 at one corner. It is often convenient to write the electron concentration as the superposition of electron concentration functions Nj associated with each atom J in the basis. If Rj is the position vector of the atom J in the basis, our proposition means that Nr is equals to summation upon J is equals to S. J runs from 1 to S, Nj R minus Rj, where S is the total number of atoms in a cell. Note that the expansion of NR in the form is not unique. Particularly, it is not possible to distinguish how much charge is associated with each atom. But this is, in general, is not a problem. Our Sg is equals to summation j runs from 1 to s integration upon dv nj r minus rj exponential minus I delta k dot r, which is exponential minus I delta k dot rj integration over nv nj rho exponential minus I delta k dot rho, where rho is defined as r minus rj. We now define the atomic form factors as small fj is equals to integration over dv nj rho e to the power minus I delta k dot rho. So if we substitute this equation here, then Sg becomes summation upon j is equals to 1 to s exponential minus I delta k dot rj. This is Fj, which is the uh, which factor? Atomic form factor. So finally, we can conclude that delta k is equals to m times a plus n times b plus p times c, where m, n, and p are integers, and rj is equals to xja plus yjb plus zjc, where x, y, z real numbers. So delta k dot r is equals to 2 pi times mxj plus nyj plus pzj, and hence this equation can be written as the Sg, the previous page. Sg is a function of mnp is equals to nothing but summation j runs from 1 to s fj exponential minus I times 2 pi mxj plus nyj plus pzj. So this is the basic theory we want to explain. Okay, so Sg is nothing but the structure factor. Now we want to evaluate the structure factor of the BCC lattice. The BCC basis referred to the cubic cell has identical atoms at R1 is equals to 0, 0, 0 and R2 is equals to half 1, 1, 1. And hence SGMNP is nothing but F times 1, 0, 0 means exponential 0, that is 1, plus exponential minus I pi within bracket M plus N plus P. Now, since e to the power minus I n pi is equals to positive 1, right, when n is even, and negative 1 when n is odd. So, our structure factor becomes twice f if m plus n plus p is even and equals to 0 if m plus n plus p is odd. This is an important findings which points that the diffraction spectrum of BCC solids do not containing lines such as 100, 300, 111, etc., whose summation 1 plus 0 plus 0 is equals to 1, that is odd, that is the structure factor becomes 0, and all other planes have the same magnitude 0. That's why these diffraction spectrum of BCC solids do not containing the lines which have the addition as the odd number. So the physical origin for the absence of these lines can be understood with the help of this simple figure. As seen, there is an inverting plane 200 between any two adjacent 111 lines, 100 planes. When the Bragg condition is satisfied for the 100 plane, this is the first plane, second plane, third plane, and this is the Bragg reflections. And this this is the phase difference upon 2 pi. This is the lattice constant. So reflections from adjacent planes differ by a phase of exactly 2 pi. The intervening 200 plane, on the other hand, produces a reflection regarded by a phase by pi with respect to the first plane, thereby cancelling the contribution from that plane. So the figure explains the absence of a 100 reflection from a BCC lattice. The phase difference between successive planes is pi, so that the reflected amplitude from two adjacent planes is 0. Now we are interested to evaluate the structure factor of the FCC lattice. The basis referred to, the cubic cell, has identical atoms at 0, 0, 0, 0 half half, half 0 half, and half half 0. And hence the structure factor becomes F times 1 plus exponential minus I pi n plus p exponential minus I pi m plus p plus exponential minus I pi m plus n. So there are four cases here, right? All if the first case is where all m and p are even, then nothing but the structure factor becomes 4. This is 1, this 1, 1, 1. So the addition of 4 ones becomes 4. If all the m and p are odd, then we have the same result as in 1, that is Sg is equals to 4. The third one is if two of the m and p are even, then one of the exponential is plus 1 and two of the exponentials are minus 1. Hence, the Sg is equals to 0. The fourth case is where two of the m and p's are odd and we have the same result as in 3, that is the structure factor becomes 0. So these are the four conditions. So what is the conclusion we can draw? Hence in FCC, no reflection can occur for those with indices that are partly even or partly odd, right? This is the figure for the comparison between the scattering spectrum of potassium chloride and potassium bromide. This is KCl and this is for KBr. Look, these 420, the sum of all the HKL is or MNPs are even. Therefore, these spectral lines are evident. And in KBr, the addition of all the three planes MNPs are odd, right? And the extra reflection from KCl and KBr powders. The KCl, the members of the electrons of potassium plus and chlorine minus ions are equal. The scattering amplitudes of FK plus and FCl minus are almost exactly equal, so that the crystal looks to X-rays as if it were a monoatomic simple cubic lattice of lattice constant A by 2. Only even integers occur in the reflection indices when these are based on a cubic lattice of lattice constant A. So in potassium bromide, the form factor of Br minus is quite different than of K plus, and all reflections of the FCC lattice are present. So this is another important result which gives the experimental atomic scattering factor for metallic aluminium. And as we'll discuss, the atomic scattering factor, which is the ratio of the radiation amplitude scattered by the charge distribution in an atom to that scattered by a point electron, right? So this is the sine theta upon lambda versus F plot, and the results for sodium is also follows the same trend. At theta is equals to 0, our calculation gives the small f becomes z, that is the number of atomic electrons, and the curve follows look like this. So here is the simple interpretation, whether your addition of the planes M and P are even or odd, that determines you the geometrical structure factor. That is the intensities of all spectra for which N, M and P satisfy the conditions at 0 or non-zero. For example, metallic sodium has a BCC structure and its diffraction spectrum does not contain lines such as 100, 300, 111 or 221, but lines such that 200, 110 and 222 will be present, and here the planes are referred to as a cubic unit cell. For each of the possible space groups, there are characteristic absences of reflections, and from these the space group is determined. There is a simple physical interpretation of the result, that in particular the 100 reflection vanishes for the body centered. Okay, let us go back to the earlier picture. Okay, this one. The 100 reflection vanishes for the body centered cubic lattice. The 100 reflection normally occurs when the reflections from the first and the third planes, as discussed in this figure, are out of phase by 2 pi, right? However, in the BCC lattice, there is an intervening plane of atoms leveled the second plane in the figure, which is equal in scattering power to the other planes, and which situated midway between them gives a reflection out of phase by pi, thereby cancelling the contribution from another plane. The cancellation of the 100 reflection occurs only if the various planes are identical in composition. Thus, in the cesium chloride CSCl structure, the cancellation does not occur as the planes of cesium and chlorine atoms alternate. So this discussion has assumed that the crystal is large and perfect. The effect of thermal motion on the structure factors may be quite important, as well as the effect of the mosaic or block structure of actual crystals.